focus on yourself, and stay silent. That's not advice. That's a warning. Because if you don't learn this one thing, you're going to spend another year exactly where you are right now. Stuck, scattered, explaining yourself to people who don't care, announcing dreams you never build, chasing validation from people who forgot your name the moment they scrolled past your post. I've been there for years. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I wish someone had told me when I was wasting my life trying to impress people who weren't even watching. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. How much of your energy this past year went to people who don't even think about you when you're not around? How many hours did you spend crafting the perfect post, waiting for likes, refreshing to see if anyone noticed you? How many conversations did you have where you were basically auditioning for approval, trying to prove you're smart enough, successful enough, worthy enough to be respected? And how much of that energy could have gone into actually building something real? I'm not asking to judge you. I'm asking because I did this for years. I was addicted to being seen, addicted to the little hit of dopamine that came every time someone validated my plans, every time someone said, "Wow, that's amazing. You're going to do great things." And you know what I actually built during those years of talking and posting and explaining is less than #0. 5 hash is greater than nothing. Absolutely nothing that mattered. Here's what nobody tells you about sharing your goals. When you announce what you're going to do, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical it releases when you actually accomplish something. So you get the reward without doing the work. You tell everyone, "I'm going to start that business. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to write that book. I'm going to change my life." And your brain says, "Good job, you did it." But you didn't do anything. You just talked about doing something. And now you have less motivation to actually do it. Because your brain already gave you the prize, the satisfaction, the feeling of accomplishment for work you never did. This is why people who talk the most do the least. This is why your most ambitious friend, the one always posting about the grind, always sharing vision boards, always announcing the next big move, never actually seems to get anywhere. They're high on announcement, addicted to the performance of progress. And the real work, the boring, quiet, unglamorous work that actually builds something, it sits untouched in the dark, while they chase the next hit of attention. Sound familiar? If you've been caught in this cycle, if you've been the one announcing more than building, just drop the word silence in the comments. Let me know. I'm not the only one who had to learn this the hard way. Let me tell you, when I finally understood this, I was 26, living in a one-bedroom apartment that smelled like carpet cleaner and broken dreams. The window faced a brick wall. The neighbors fought at midnight, and I could hear every word through the thin walls. I was working a job that paid just enough to keep me stuck, but not enough to get ahead. Every Sunday night, I felt this knot in my stomach, knowing what Monday would bring. Another week of pretending. Another week of watching the clock. Another week of my life disappearing into work I didn't care about. I had told everyone about my plans. My parents knew. My friends knew. I had posted about it, made vision boards, written goals in journals, told anyone who would listen that I was about to change my life. And I was in the exact same place I'd been 3 years earlier. Same dead-end job, same apartment, same life. I was desperate to escape. But I had all this knowledge. I could quote motivational speeches word for word. I knew the strategies, the frameworks, the 5 steps to success. I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. I just never did it. Because I had already gotten my reward. Every time I told someone about my plans, I felt like I was making progress. The conversations felt productive. The posts felt like action. But nothing was actually changing. One night I was sitting alone in my car after a shift that felt like it lasted 3 days. I just sat there in the parking lot, engine off, staring at the steering wheel. The radio was off, the windows were up, and for once, there was no noise, no distraction, just me and my thoughts. And I asked myself a question that changed everything. What if the talking is the problem? What if every time I open my mouth about my dreams, I'm leaking the very energy I need to build them? That question hit me so hard, I sat there for another hour because I realized something I had been hiding from myself. I wasn't working toward my dreams. I was performing my ambition for an audience. I was so busy trying to look like someone who was going somewhere that I never actually went anywhere. So let me tell you what I did next. I stopped talking, not forever, not about everything, but about my goals, my plans, my dreams. I shut my mouth. I deleted posts about my ambitions. I stopped updating people on my progress. When family asked what I was working on, I just said a few things and changed the subject. And something strange happened. Without the applause to chase, I had to actually do the work. Without the validation hits, I had to find motivation from somewhere deeper, from the actual progress, from the small wins nobody saw but me. And for the first time in years, I started actually moving forward. Here's what I learned in that season. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is strategy. In a world where everyone is screaming for attention, posting every meal, announcing every goal, sharing every thought, the person who moves quietly becomes something rare. Unpredictable. Dangerous. Powerful. Think about it. You can't hate on what you can't see. You can't discourage what you don't know about. You can't pour your doubt into a dream that was never announced. When you move in silence, you remove the target from your back. You stop giving people ammunition to use against you. You stop inviting opinions you didn't ask for into a process they don't understand. Now let me tell you why most people can't do this. Because silence is terrifying. Not the external silence. That part is easy. Just stop posting, stop sharing, stop announcing. The hard part is the internal silence. See, when you stop performing for the crowd, you have to actually sit with yourself. No distractions, no validation, no one telling you you're doing great. Just you, facing the mirror. Asking the questions you've been running from. Who am I really? What do I actually want? And am I willing to do what it takes to get it? Most people would rather scroll for 3 hours than sit with those questions for 3 minutes. Because the answers might be uncomfortable. The answers might reveal that you've been lying to yourself, that you don't actually want the things you say you want, that you're afraid of success because then you'd have no excuses left. Silence exposes you to yourself. And for a lot of people, that's the scariest thing in the world. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You can't outrun yourself forever. You can distract yourself with noise. You can numb yourself with content. You can surround yourself with chaos, so you never have to sit in the quiet. But eventually, the quiet finds you. At 3 a.m. when you can't sleep, in the shower when there's nothing to scroll, in those moments between the noise when your own thoughts finally catch up to you. And in those moments, you either face yourself or you run back to the distractions. The people who win are the ones who stop running. They sit in the silence, they face the mirror, they ask the hard questions, and they do the work that nobody else sees. Let me give you a picture that changed how I see this. Think about a seed. When you plant a seed, it doesn't immediately burst through the soil and announce itself to the world. Hey everyone, look at me. I'm growing. I'm about to be something big. No. It sits in the darkness, underground, unseen. It breaks open in the silence. It pushes roots down before it ever pushes stems up. It anchors itself deep in the earth where no one can see. Only after all that quiet work, after it's built a foundation strong enough to stand, does it finally break through the surface. You are that seed. But you keep digging yourself up to see if you've grown yet. You keep exposing your roots to the harsh light of public opinion before they've had a chance to take hold. You keep announcing the growth before the growth has actually happened. And then you wonder why you wither. Stop digging yourself up. Stay in the dark a little longer. Let the roots go deep. Here's another picture that might help. In photography, back before everything was digital, pictures had to be developed in a dark room. The film would sit in chemicals, in complete darkness, while the image slowly formed. The photographer couldn't rush it, couldn't peek, couldn't check every 5 minutes to see if it was done. They had to trust the process. Let the chemistry do its work. Let the image develop on its own timeline. And here's the thing. If you expose that film to light too early, before the image was fully developed, you ruined it. The picture would be destroyed. All that potential gone. Because someone got impatient and let the light in too soon. You are in your dark room right now. Maybe it feels lonely. Maybe it feels like nothing is happening. Maybe you're wondering if you're wasting your time. Maybe you're tempted to show people what you're working on just to get some encouragement. But you're developing, something is forming in you that can't be rushed. Don't expose yourself to the light too soon. Don't announce the image before it's finished. Don't let impatience destroy what patience would have perfected. Let the process complete in the dark. And when it's time, trust me, the world will see what you've become without you having to say a word. The image will speak for itself because you let it develop properly, because you trusted the darkness instead of fearing it. Now, here's where it gets practical. Because I know some of you are thinking, okay, I get it, stay silent, but what do I actually do? Let me give you some things I learned the hard way. First, stop explaining yourself to people who don't pay your bills. This one took me years to learn. I used to explain everything. Why I was making certain choices, why I was taking certain paths, why I believed what I believed. I thought if I could just explain it well enough, people would understand. They'd support me. They'd get it. But here's what I discovered. People who want to understand you don't need long explanations. And people who don't want to understand you won't be convinced by any explanation you give. So why waste the breath? When you stop explaining yourself, something powerful happens. You take back your energy. You stop giving people information they can use against you. You stop inviting debate about decisions you've already made. No is a complete sentence. I can't is a complete sentence. That doesn't work for me as a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone an essay about your choices. Second, stop reacting to every snake that bites you. I heard someone say this once and it stuck with me. Imagine you're walking through the woods and a snake bites you. What do? Do you chase the snake into the woods to kill it? Do you try to find out why it bit you? Do you spend hours tracking it down to get revenge? No. If you chase the snake, the venom spreads faster and you die. You don't chase the snake, you heal the wound. But so many of you are chasing snakes. Someone disrespects you at work. That's a snake bite. And you spend all week venting about it, plotting revenge, stewing in anger. You're chasing the snake. Someone leaves a nasty comment online, snake bite, and you spend an hour crafting the perfect reply. You're chasing the snake. A relationship ends badly, snake bite, and you stalk their profile to see if they're happy without you. You replay every conversation. You obsess over what you could have done differently. You're chasing the snake into the deep, dark woods. And while you're chasing them, you're dying. The venom is spreading. Your energy is draining. Your focus is scattered. All for someone who isn't thinking about you at all. Stop chasing snakes. Heal the wound and keep moving. Third, protect your energy like it's the last money in your account. Think about your energy like a bank account. Every time you engage in drama, you're making a withdrawal. Every time you explain yourself to someone who doesn't deserve it, withdrawal. Every time you scroll for hours, comparing yourself to strangers, withdrawal. Every time you let someone rent space in your head without paying, withdrawal. Every time you chase validation instead of doing the work, withdrawal. Every time you react to a snake instead of healing the wound, withdrawal. And if you keep making withdrawals without deposits, you go bankrupt. Emotional bankruptcy, mental bankruptcy, spiritual bankruptcy. You end up exhausted, scattered, running on empty, wondering why you have nothing left to give to the things that actually matter, wondering why you feel so tired when you haven't actually accomplished anything. You have to protect your deposits. Sleep, solitude, focus, time with people who actually fill you up, work that moves you toward your goals. These are deposits, and you have to stop letting every random person, every notification, every piece of drama make withdrawals from your account. Your energy is finite. Treat it like the precious resource it is. If you've been running on empty, if you've been making withdrawals you can't afford, drop the word protect in the comments. Make a commitment right now to guard your energy this year. Fourth, embrace the boredom of consistency. This is the one nobody wants to hear. We love the highlight reel. We love the montage in the movie where the hero transforms in 3 minutes of upbeat music. But real life isn't a montage. Real life is waking up at 5 a.m. when it's cold and dark and you don't want to. Real life is doing the same boring things over and over, day after day, with no applause. Real life is showing up when you don't feel like it, when no one is watching, when the results are so slow you wonder if anything is happening at all. That's where success actually lives. In the boring middle. Not in the announcement, not in the arrival. In the thousands of unsexy days between when you start and when you finally win. The compound effect is real. Small choices, repeated daily, for months and years, create massive change. But only if you stay consistent when it's boring, when no one is clapping, when you're not sure it's working. Anyone can show up when they're motivated. Can you show up when you feel nothing? That's the test. And you have to pass it over and over and over again. Here's something else about consistency that most people miss. Consistency doesn't just build results, it builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself that no one else knows about, you deposit trust into your own account. Every time you wake up early when no one is watching, trust. Every time you do the work when you don't feel like it, trust. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, trust. And over time, that trust compounds into something powerful. Confidence. Not the fake confidence that comes from likes and comments. Real confidence. The kind that comes from knowing you can count on yourself. The kind that doesn't need external validation because you've already validated yourself through action. Most people don't trust themselves. And honestly, why would they? They've broken promises to themselves 1,000 times. They said they'd start Monday and didn't. They said they'd change and didn't. They said this time would be different and it wasn't. Every broken promise erodes self-trust. And without self-trust, you have no foundation. Consistency rebuilds that foundation, one kept promise at a time, in silence, where no one is watching but you. Fifth, focus creates acceleration. This is something I didn't understand for years. I thought success was about doing more tasks, more projects, more hustling, more grinding. But that's backwards. Success isn't about doing more things, it's about doing fewer things better. Think about a magnifying glass. When sunlight is scattered, it's just light, warm, but powerless. But when you take that same sunlight and focus it through a magnifying glass onto a single point, it can start a fire. Same energy, completely different result. Your attention is like that sunlight. When it's scattered across 20 different things, 20 different goals, 20 different distractions, it's powerless. You're busy, but nothing actually gets done. But when you focus that same attention on one thing, two things, when you ruthlessly eliminate everything else, you become unstoppable. This is why the most successful people say no constantly. Not because they don't have opportunities, because they have too many. They understand that every yes is a no to something else, and they protect their focus like it's sacred. Because it is. What are you saying yes to that's stealing focus from what actually matters? What distractions have you invited into your life that are draining the energy you need for your real goals? What would happen if you eliminated everything that wasn't essential and focused only on the one or two things that would actually change your life? I'll tell you what would happen. Acceleration. Progress you didn't think was possible. Results that seemed to come out of nowhere to people who weren't watching. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It was focus. Quiet, relentless, undistracted focus. Sixth, detach from things outside your control. This is ancient wisdom. The Stoics talked about this thousands of years ago, and it's still the most practical advice for living a peaceful life. There are things you can control: your effort, your attitude, your discipline, your response. And there are things you can't control: other people's opinions, the economy, whether someone likes you, what people say behind your back. Most of your stress comes from trying to control things that were never in your hands. You can't control whether they respect you, but you can control whether you respect yourself. You can't control whether they understand you, but you can control whether you stay true to your values. You can't control the outcome, but you can control the effort. When you focus only on what you control, something magical happens. Is less than hash shown. Zero hash is greater than peace. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop fighting battles you were never meant to win. Here's another part of this that changed everything for me. Your emotions are not the boss of you. I used to think emotions were something I had to obey. If I felt sad, I had to act sad. If I felt angry, I had to express anger. If I felt unmotivated, I had to wait until motivation showed up. But that's giving your emotions the steering wheel. Here's a better way to think about it. Your emotions are passengers in the car of your life, not the driver. They can sit in the back seat. They can tell you how they feel. They can give you information, but they don't get to decide where the car goes. You feel sad? Okay. Sadness is in the car today. Thanks for letting me know. Now let me keep driving toward my goals anyway. You feel anxious? Okay. Anxiety is here. I see you. I hear you. Now let me do the work anyway. You don't feel motivated? That's fine. Motivation isn't driving. Discipline is. This is emotional mastery. Not pretending you don't have emotions, not suppressing them, not ignoring them, just not letting them control your actions. Acknowledge them, feel them, and then do what needs to be done anyway. The people who win are not the ones who always feel good. They're the ones who take right action regardless of how they feel. Seventh, be willing to be the villain in their story. Is less than hash shown. Zero hash is greater than. This one is hard, but it's necessary. When you start to change, when you start to grow, when you start to focus on yourself and stop being available for everyone else's drama, some people are going to have a problem with that. They're going to say, you've changed. And you should look them in the eye and say, I hope so. Not everyone is going to celebrate your growth. Some people liked you better when you were small, when you were available, when you were stuck like them. Your evolution reminds them of their stagnation, and that's uncomfortable. So they'll try to pull you back, not always with hate, sometimes with guilt, sometimes with, you don't have time for me anymore, sometimes with, you've changed, and it doesn't feel like a compliment. You have to be willing to let them misunderstand you. You have to be willing to be the villain in their version of the story if it means being the hero in yours. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your transformation. And not everyone gets to come with you to where you're going. There's a phrase that helped me understand this. Separation is elevation. Sometimes the distance between you and certain people isn't rejection, it's protection. Sometimes the loneliness you feel isn't abandonment, it's insulation. Life removing the distractions so you can finally hear your own voice. The higher you climb, the fewer people can come with you. Not because you're better than them, but because not everyone is willing to pay the price of the climb. Some people want to stay comfortable. Some people want to stay entertained. Some people want to stay the same. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's their choice. But if you're choosing growth, if you're choosing focus, if you're choosing the silent path of building instead of the loud path of performing, you're going to leave some people behind. That's not cold. That's just reality. You can love people from a distance. You can wish them well. You can hope they find their own path. But you can't sacrifice your destiny to keep them comfortable. Eighth, choose your hard. This is maybe the most important thing I've learned. Everything is hard. Being broke is hard. Building wealth is hard. Choose your hard. Being out of shape is hard. Working out is hard. Choose your hard. Staying in a relationship that drains you is hard. Being alone while you heal is hard. Choose your hard. Talking about your dreams forever is hard. Actually building them in silence is hard. Choose your hard. There is no easy path. The only question is, which hard are you going to choose? The hard that leaves you stuck, or the hard that sets you free? The hard of discipline, silence, and focus leads to freedom. The hard of distraction, noise, and validation seeking leads to the same place you've always been. Choose your hard. Ninth, let consistency speak for you. This is connected to silence, but it goes even deeper. In a world where everyone is explaining, justifying, defending, there's something powerful about just doing the work and letting results speak. Words can be crafted, explanations can be spun, but behavior over time cannot be faked. When you show up every day, when you do the work, whether you feel like it or not, when you stay disciplined when no one is watching, you build something that no words can match. Credibility, not the credibility that comes from clever arguments, the credibility that comes from a track record, from proof, from evidence that speaks louder than any speech. I used to try to convince people I was trustworthy. I'd explain myself, justify my choices, try to win them over with words. It never worked. You know what worked? Just being trustworthy, showing up, following through, being consistent over months and years until they couldn't deny it anymore. Consistency is the argument that cannot be refuted. You don't have to convince anyone of anything. You just have to do the work long enough that the results become undeniable. That's why silence is so powerful. You're not wasting energy on explanation. You're investing it in execution. And execution, over time, speaks for itself. There's a verse that says, "By their fruits you shall know them." Not by their words, not by their posts, not by their promises. By their fruits. by what they actually produce. What are you producing? Not what are you talking about producing? Not what are you planning to produce? What are you actually producing right now? In silence, in the dark, where no one is watching, is less than hay shown. 5 hash is greater than, that's what matters. That's what lasts. That's what speaks. Now, let me talk about what happens when you actually do this. When you focus on yourself, when you stay silent, when you do the work nobody sees. At first, nothing seems to change. You're in the dark room. The seed is underground. The picture is developing, but nothing is visible yet. This is the hardest part. The waiting, the wondering if it's working. But if you stay consistent, something starts to shift. You start to trust yourself more because you're keeping promises to yourself that no one else knows about. You start to feel different, not motivated, different, grounded, solid, like you're becoming someone you actually respect. And then one day, people start to notice. They'll say, something's different about you. You seem more confident, more focused, more at peace. And you won't even need to explain, because the results speak for themselves. That's the power of silence. You don't have to announce your transformation. You just become it. And the world notices without you saying a word. Let me tell you what life looks like when you master this. You stop needing validation to feel good about your choices. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't matter. You stop chasing snakes and start building empires. You wake up with energy because you're not leaking it everywhere. You go to bed with peace because you did the work that mattered. You look in the mirror and actually respect the person looking back. But it goes deeper than that. You start to feel a quietness inside, not emptiness, quietness, a settled, grounded feeling that doesn't depend on external circumstances. People can criticize you and it doesn't shake you because your identity isn't built on their approval anymore. Opportunities can fall through and it doesn't break you because your foundation isn't built on any single outcome anymore. Life can get hard and it doesn't destroy you because you've been training in the dark, building strength nobody saw. You become what the Stoics called unshakable. Not because nothing affects you, but because you've built a foundation so solid that storms can come and you remain standing. That's what focus and silence build. Not just success, stability. Not just results, resilience. And here's the thing, nobody tells you. People start to feel it. They might not be able to explain what changed about you, but they sense it. Something in the way you carry yourself. Something in the way you speak or don't speak. They'll ask, what's different about you? You seem more confident, more focused, more at peace. And you won't even need to explain. You'll just smile, because you know the dark room you sat in, the silence you embraced, the work you did when no one was watching. That's not fantasy. That's what's available to you. But only if you're willing to do what most people aren't. Focus on yourself, stay silent, and trust the process. I'm going to be honest with you about something. There will be days when this is incredibly hard. Days when you want to post about your progress just to get a little encouragement. Days when the silence feels lonely instead of powerful. Days when you wonder if anyone even notices that you're growing. Days when you question if any of this is worth it. I had those days, plenty of them. There were mornings I woke up and thought, what's the point? I'm working so hard and nothing is changing. No one sees it. No one cares. And in those moments, the temptation to go back to the old way was almost overwhelming. To post something, to announce something, to get that little hit of validation that would make me feel like it mattered. But I didn't. Not because I'm special, because I understood something. Those moments of doubt, those days when it feels pointless, those are the moments that separate everyone else from the few who actually make it. Anyone can stay focused when results are visible. Can you stay focused when nothing seems to be happening? That's the real test. Those days are the most important ones. Because those are the days when you're building real character, real strength, real foundation. Those are the days when your discipline is actually being tested, when your commitment is being proven, when your identity is being forged. Anyone can stay focused when they're excited. Can you stay focused when you feel nothing? That's the question that separates the people who win from the people who just talk about winning. Let me tell you about the people who never learn this. I've watched them. I almost became one of them. They're 40, 50, 60 years old, still announcing plans, still waiting for the right moment, still explaining themselves to people who stopped listening years ago. And there's this quiet desperation in their eyes, the sense that life passed them by while they were too busy performing to actually live. They know all the right things to say. They've watched all the videos, read all the books. They have more knowledge than people half their age. But they never did anything with it because they were always talking about the work instead of doing the work. Always announcing instead of building. Always chasing the next hit of validation instead of sitting in the silence and creating something real. And the saddest part? They know it. Late at night, when the distractions are gone and it's just them and their thoughts, they know. They know they wasted time that can't be recovered. They know they traded their potential for applause that faded. They know they let years slip away while they were busy looking busy. Don't let that be you. You're watching this video right now. That means you still have time. The years ahead of you are still unwritten. But only if you make a different choice. Only if you choose focus over distraction, silence over noise, building over announcing. I refuse to let that be you. And if you're still watching, I think you refuse to let that be you too. So here's where we are. You've been consuming content about success for how long now? Months? Years? How many videos have you watched? How many books have you read? How much do you already know? Probably more than enough. The problem was never information. The problem was implementation. And implementation requires something most people don't want to give. Silence, focus, boring consistency without applause. The world is loud. Be quiet. The world is distracted. Be focused. The world is performing. Be real. Move in silence. Let your results make the noise. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't pay your bills. Stop chasing snakes that bit you. Stop leaking your energy on things that don't matter. Embrace the boredom of consistency. Focus until your effort becomes fire. Detach from what you can't control. Let your emotions ride in the back seat. Be willing to be misunderstood. Let separation be elevation. choose your heart and choose wisely. Let consistency speak where words never could. Because the next year of your life is going to pass whether you do this or not. The only question is, who will you be on the other side? The same person you are today, still talking, still explaining, still stuck in the same place. Or someone new, someone focused, someone who finally did the work in the dark and emerged into the light transformed, is less than hash on. 5 hash is greater than. That's your choice. Make it wisely. And make it today, not tomorrow, not Monday, not next year. Today. Because tomorrow is a liar. Tomorrow is the graveyard of dreams. The only day that matters is the one you're living right now. If this message hit you, if something shifted while you were listening, I want you to tell me in the comments, what's one thing you're going to do differently? What silence are you embracing? Be specific. Write it down. Make it real. Now, I want to leave you with something. Everything I just shared, the lessons about silence, focus, protecting your energy, choosing your heart, letting consistency speak for you, I didn't figure this out at 25. I learned most of it the hard way, through wasted years, through painful mistakes, through watching opportunities slip away while I was busy performing instead of building. And honestly, I'm still learning, still growing, still catching myself falling into old patterns and having to pull myself back. That's why I want you to hear from someone who's been on this path even longer than I have. Someone who has the perspective that only decades of living can give. Someone who made the mistakes, paid the price, and is now sharing the lessons so you don't have to pay the same price. There's a video I want you to watch next. It's from someone who's 61 years old. Someone who spent 21 years learning what I just shared with you today. And they broke it down in a way that made me realize how much time I was still wasting, how many mistakes I was still making that I didn't even recognize. 21 years of trial and error, 21 years of hard lessons, all compressed into one conversation that could change the next 21 years of your life. The video is called, "I'm 61. It took me 21 years to realize this. Don't waste yours." And honestly, I wish I had heard it 10 years ago. It would have saved me from so many detours, so many dead ends, so many years of learning things the hard way that I could have learned from someone else's experience. That's the gift they're offering you. Decades of hard-won wisdom compressed into something you can apply today. If you're serious about not wasting your life, if you want to learn from someone who's already walked the path you're on, who's already stumbled where you're about to stumble, that video is waiting for you. Don't make the same mistakes they made. Don't take 21 years to learn what you can learn today. Your future self will thank you for listening now. Focus on yourself, stay silent, and go watch that video. I'll see you there.